I'm your host, Kinetic, and you're watching GameOnEnd. Hello and welcome. Today we're taking a look at a couple of add-ons for Transmog tokens. Now typically these items like the Mark of Sanctification or Trophy of the Crusade don't have any information in the tooltip that lets you know where these turn in, what they turn in for. So I'm sure there's even people out there that are, as they're running through old raids and stuff, may just vendor these off because they're not sure where to take them or whatever. So we're going to use Add-on Control Panel to click through a few things here. We have 3 different add-ons. The first one we'll take a look at is Tier Token Tooltip. So when we hover over one of these items, we now have a bit in the tooltip which shows us the source of this item, which in this item's case is Ice Crown, and it's dropped by any boss. But what it also does is down in the chat here, we will drag this up, it shows the item, and then it shows what item it creates. So you can now see that this creates the Shadow Blade leg plates, helmet, gauntlets, and breastplate. That's the basics of what this one does. So you have the source in the tooltip there, and then the item itself spit out as a link in chat. So let's take a look at the next one, which is Token Splainer. Okay, so Token Splainer does it a little differently here. We can see when we hover over, it doesn't show us the source, it doesn't put anything in chat. All it does is next to the item just shows you the items that you can receive for turning this in. Also, if you hold down Alt while you're hovering over it, you'll get a list of all the items that it turns in for. If for some reason you want to see the set for a different class or something like that, if the token works for multiple classes, which most of these tokens work for typically 3 classes. A couple of them I think work for 4. So the problem with this add-on is that it's not showing us anything for these trophies, but they do turn in for items. So just be aware of that. Okay, so the next one we will take a look at is Transmog tokens. Okay, so Transmog tokens, as we can see here, we hover over and it shows us whether we can redeem this item for an appearance that we still need, and then it also shows you the NPC that you turn it in at. So we can see there, this says redeem at Yili, at Ice Crown Citadel, in Light's Hammer. So the name here that it's showing is not exactly accurate, but at least we know that it's in the right spot. So we would come here, and for our class, it's not actually Yili. That might be one of the other classes that this token is for. So you'd have to maybe click around on a couple of different people here and find the right vendor for your item. But in our case, we would come to this guy here. But at least it shows us whether either of these items are usable for us for anything that we still need, and then where to take them. So we see this one goes to the Argent Tournament Grounds, and this one comes to Ice Crown. So nothing else there, nothing spit out in the chat or any of that. The cool combo I'd like to show you is this. If we go with the first and the third, with the Tier Token Tooltip and the Transmog tokens. Okay, so this last combo here does something really cool. We now have the functionality of both of these add-ons in that when we hover over an item, it spits out in chat what we can turn it in for. It also shows us in the tooltip where it drops. So in this case, Ice Crown, and by any boss, it also shows us where we turn it in. But then the last thing here that any of these add-ons separately didn't quite do for us is that now, because we have it spit out in chat and we have the little feature there at the bottom of the tooltip that shows whether it can be exchanged for appearances you need or not, we can now hover over the items that these turn in for. So in a lot of cases with these old raids, these tokens will turn in for a base level item. But then you can see here that this item actually turns in for the upgraded item, which is the heroic version. So in some cases, you need another token that goes along with it, a heroic version of the token, in which case you'll see that at the vendor. But at the least, you can see that this item upgrades for another item, which you couldn't previously see. So if we hover over each item here, we'll see that I have most of these appearances, but what I actually see here is that this turns in for the chest, which I actually don't have the heroic version of. So this now gives me a nice thing to know that while in most of those other cases I would have hovered over this and seen, oh, I don't need this, and vended it off, I can actually see that if I come to this vendor here and go for the chest, which I don't need, as you can see here, but the combination of this token and the chest piece can get me an appearance that I do need. So you can see there it says it can be exchanged for one appearance that I need. So what this is actually doing is going all the way up to the base one, which I would need to buy the next level up, right? So we have the second one, which requires the base one and one of these tokens. And then that one all the way up to this, which if I hover over here and look down in the tooltip, it says you haven't collected this appearance. So I can see that I actually need the heroic version of this, which requires one of these heroic tokens and then the chest piece that goes all the way up. So if I hover over these other ones here, I can see that I have all these other appearances, but just this one says you haven't collected this appearance. So I can basically see here by hovering over any of these items whether I need this. So kind of cool that the combination of these gives me something which I wouldn't have been able to get with any of these on their own, in that I can see whether I can actually get something I need from it. Now, unfortunately, with these trophies, for some reason, it doesn't show if there's any upgrades or not, because the first add-on doesn't spit out the link in the chat like it does with these. So you'd still have to go to this vendor and double check. But in almost all of the cases that I tried, it actually works the same as these, in that it'll spit out the items that you need, that you can get from it, and then you can hover over those to see what those upgrade for. So pretty cool here. We can basically, buy this item and then upgrade it to this item with the token. And then from there, we could run this again on heroic and go for one of these tokens. And then we could upgrade and get the last piece that we're missing from the set. So I hope this helps you in your transmog runs, running old raids, helps you to know which items you should hang on to and which items you should get rid of. That will do it for this episode. If you've enjoyed this, remember, pressing the like button is absolutely free. Subscribe and stay tuned for more Game On End.